Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Just Law on IQRA TV. I'm your host Ilyas Bulbulia and I'll be with you for the next hour. As our regular viewers are aware, on Just Law we normally discuss an area of law which is of interest to you, our viewers. Secondly, more importantly, Just Law is a live show, so whatever questions that you have on any aspect of English law, please feel free to pick up the phone and give me a ring, and hopefully I will be able to give you some guidance in relation to the questions that you have. On this show, I should be able to cover most aspects of English law if you call in. Issues relating to family law matters, immigration law matters, personal injury matters, whatever those issues are, please feel free to ring in, and hopefully we'll have a discussion about your query, and I'll be able to advise you further on that. Now, just a couple of points before we get going. Obviously, on a live show, it's not possible to take very detailed information from our viewers. If it transpires that I need to speak to you at length, I'll give you a ring off air. And if it transpires that I need to look at your documents before I advise you, then again I'll have a conversation with you off air after I've had a look at your documents. But the vast majority of questions that we receive live on air, I should be able to give you some guidance in and answers in relation to your questions. Now, as always, we normally discuss an area of law which is of interest to you, our viewers. On the show last week, we started off a new topic relating to immigration law matters, and in particular spouse applications. And we went through what you have to do to make a successful spouse application in the United Kingdom. And obviously we had a number of calls that came in, so we didn't really make much progress on that. We did get to the financial requirement which needs to be met and which causes a significant number of problems when you have a sponsor here, a spouse here wanting to call their partner from abroad to the United Kingdom. There's always a sticking point with these cases. It's what is the financial requirement? How do you meet it? And on last week's show, we talked about the general requirement, which is that the spouse here in the UK needs to be earning £18,600 per year. And we talked about the different ways in which that income requirement can be met. So it could be through employment, it could be through self-employment, etc. Let me just take the first call for the day and we'll return to this after that. Hello, assalamu alaikum. अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह जी, अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह जी, ऑलराइट जी।
गुजराती में बात થાશે
जी जी गुजराती में पूछी सके जी, नो प्रॉब्लम जी
जी
जी।
अच्छा, મારે ઇન્ડિયન પાસપોર્ટ છે મારી પાસે
जी ओके
ને મારે કોઈને સ્પોન્સર કરવું હોય તો થાય કરી માટે।
ऑलराइट ओके। तो તમારું જે સ્ટેટસ છે યુકે માં, ટી મેઇન વસ્તુ છે, તમારું સ્ટેટસ શું છે યુકે માં હમણાં?
સ્પાઉસ વિઝા
સ્પાઉસ વિઝા પછી, ઓલરાइट ઓકે। એ જે સ્પાઉસ વિઝા છે ને, તમારું પરમિનન્ટ થઈ ગયું કે પછી તમારું હજુ વિઝા ચાલતી છે હમણાં?
વિઝા ચાલે છે,
વિઝા ચાલતી છે, ઓલરાइट ઓકે। સો છાઈ આન્સર તો બેસિકલી એ છે કે તમારથી તમારે રિલેટિવને જે સ્પોન્સર કરવાનો હોય તો તમારથી સ્પોન્સર છાય 100%. there's no problem with that. you can sponsor a relative. એમાં ખાલી શું છે કે બેસ્ટ વે ટુ ડુ ઇટ વુડ બી કે તમે તમારું બી ડોક્યુમેન્ટ્સ મૂકે. સો યુ શો કે તમે ઇન્ડિયન પાસપોર્ટ હોલ્ડર છે, તમારા પાસે વિઝા છે ને તમારા ઇન્કમ ડોક્યુમેન્ટ્સ મૂકે. ને ઇન એડિશન ટુ દેટ તમારી જે વાઇફ છે તો તેના પાસે બ્રિટિશ પાસપોર્ટ હોય યા તો ઇનડેફિનેટ લીવ હોય તો એના ડોક્યુમેન્ટ્સ બી હાથે મૂકવું જોઈએ કે લુક આઈ એમ મેરીડ ટુ ધીસ પર્સન ને એના પાસે બી બ્રિટિશ પાસપોર્ટ છે યા તો ઇનડેફિનેટ લીવ છે. તો એનાથી ક્યાંક સ્ટ્રોંગર થઈ જાય તમારું સ્ટેટસ બી. તમે
વાઇફ પાસે બ્રિટિશ પાસપોર્ટ જ છે.
ફેન્ટાસ્ટિક. સો તમે તમારું સ્ટેટસ બી બતાવે કે મારા પાસે લીગલ વિઝા છે ટુ બી ઇન ધ યુનાઇટેડ કિંગડમ, પ્રોપર બેસિસ છે ને આઈ એમ મેરીડ ટુ અ બ્રિટિશ સિટીઝન. સો બંનેના એ તો કમ્બાઇન્ડ ડિક્લેરેશન કરવું જોઈએ, બંનેના ડિક્લેરેશન કરવું જોઈએ.
તમારે ઇન્કમ બતાવવી પડે.
જી ઇન્કમ બતાવવું પડે જી.
પછી બીજું બતાવવું પડે મારા
ઇન્કમ જે છે ને એમાં એકલું સ્ટ્રિક્ટ નહીં મળે. હવે ઇન્કમમાં તમે તમારી વેજ સ્લિપ્સ ફોર ધ લાસ્ટ 3 months, તમે તમારા બેંક સ્ટેટમેન્ટ્સ બતાવે લાસ્ટ 3 monthsના. અગર વાઇફ કામ કરતી હોય તો તેની વેજ સ્લિપ્સ ને બેંક સ્ટેટમેન્ટ્સ તમે બતાવે. ઇન્કમ as long as તમે કામ કરતા હોય નોર્મલી ચાલી જાય. બીજું ઇશ્યુ શું છે કે બેંકમાં પૈસા હોવું જોઈએ, થોડાક સેવિંગ્સ હોવું જોઈએ.
તો કેટલાક બતાવવા પડે?
એક પર્સનને બોલાવતા હોય તો આઈ થિંક રફલી અબાઉટ 1500 તો હોવું જોઈએ. બે જણાને બોલાવતા હોય તો you need about 2,000, 2,500 pounds. તો એનાથી હું બતાવાય તમારે કે look
1,500 pounds.
1,500 pounds. So એનાથી આપણે એવું કહેવાય ને કે tickets બી જે છે I can pay for the tickets. So typical India to UK tickets might be about 500 pounds. So I've got enough for that. તો પછી આપકી મધર કે ફાધર જે બી છે યુકેમાં આવું છે તો I've got enough money એ લોકોને થોડો ખર્ચો છે 2-3 મહિનાનો જે about 400-500 pound ખર્ચો હોય તો તે બી મેં કરી શકું. So that's why savings છે ને જે બેંકમાં પ્રોપર હોવું જોઈએ about 1,500 pounds for one person.
તેનો તો માત્ર એ તો નથી ઇન્શાલ્લાહ તે બી થઈ જાય.
Yeah.
આપણે ઇન્કમ બી તમને મેં સેલ્ફ એમ્પ્લોયડ છું.
જી that's fine. સેલ્ફ એમ્પ્લોયડ પર કોઈ પ્રોબ્લેમ નહીં મળે. તમે જે અકાઉન્ટ્સ બનાવે ને અકાઉન્ટન્ટ તો તે ફાઇનાન્શિયલ અકાઉન્ટ્સ તમે મૂકી દઈએ પછી તમે ટેક્સ ડોક્યુમેન્ટ મૂકી દઈએ જેના પર લખેલું હોય કે ધીસ ઇઝ ધ પ્રોફિટ ફોર ધ યર ધીસ ઇઝ ધ ટેક્સ પેયેબલ એ બે ડોક્યુમેન્ટ્સ તમે મૂકી દઈએ તો દેટ્સ સફિશિયન્ટ આપણે ઇન્કમ વાળું.
ઓકે તો મારા બે વધારે ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ છે મારો ઘર બી પોતાનું છે એટલે મને તે બી વાંધો નહીં.
જી સો ફોર એક્ઝામ્પલ હવે આપણે જો ઘરની વાત છે ને તો ઘરનું આપણે ડીડ્સ મૂકી દઈએ કાઉન્સિલ ટેક્સ બિલ મૂકી દઈએ સો દેટ્સ અકોમોડેશન હારું તે બી સફિશિયન્ટ હોય ને.
તમને ત્યાંથી અપોઝિટ સાઇડમાંથી હું મને જોઈએ ડોક્યુમેન્ટ છે પ્લીઝ.
હવે આપણે ઇન્ડિયાથી છે ને ઇન્ડિયાથી બી એ લોકોને બતાવવું પડે કે એ લોકો વેલ સેટલડ છે ઇન્ડિયામાં. સો એ લોકો પાસે કોઈ ઇન્કમ હોય તો આપણે બતાવવું પડે કે ઇન્કમ શું છે એ લોકોની સેવિંગ્સ શું છે સેવિંગ્સ બતાવવું પડે આપણે. પછી એ લોકો ફેમિલીમાં અગર બીજા પોયરા હોય અંડર 18 કે ઓવર 18 બી હોય તે બતાવવાનું કે લોક અમારા પાસે ફેમિલી બી છે આપણે ઇન્ડિયામાં. સો એ મેઇન એરિયાઝ હોય પ્રીવિયસ ટ્રાવેલ હિસ્ટ્રી હોય તે બતાવાય. સો મેઇન એરિયા શું હોય કે ઇન્કમ પ્રૂફ ઓફ ઇન્કમ ઇટ ડિપેન્ડ્સ ને લોકોની પ્રૂફ શું છે. ફોર એક્ઝામ્પલ એમ્પ્લોયડ હોય તો સેમ વેજ સ્લિપ્સ એન્ડ બેંક સ્ટેટમેન્ટ સેલ્ફ એમ્પ્લોયડ હોય તો સેલ્ફ એમ્પ્લોયડ બિઝનેસના ડોક્યુમેન્ટ્સ.
ફાર્મર્સ ઇન્ડિયામાં
ફાર્મરનો પ્રોબ્લેમ શું છે કે ફાર્મર લોકોનું બી છે ને આપણે ટેક્સ ડોક્યુમેન્ટ્સ હોય તો ફાર્મિંગના ટેક્સ ડોક્યુમેન્ટ્સ આપણે બતાવવું પડે. ક્રોપ રિસીટ્સ હોય જે વસ્તુ જે વેચે the crop receipts so we need to show the crop receipts as well. પછી land હોય એ લોકો પાસે land એ લોકો landને ઓન કરતા હોય તો એનું પ્રૂફ બી મુકાય આપણાથી. સો એ લોકોને પછી ઇન્ડિયાથી they need to get evidence together કે અગર ફાર્મિંગ છે તો ફાર્મિંગનું શું ઇન્કમ છે એ લોકોની. મેઇન ઇશ્યુ છે એમાં કે લોકો અગર એ લોકો એવું કહે ને કે અમે ફાર્મર્સ છે તો એ લોકો જે ક્રોપ્સને જે વસ્તુ હોય તેને એ લોકો વેચે. ફોર એક્ઝામ્પલ ઇન્ડિયામાં શુગર કેનનો એ લોકોનો બિઝનેસ હોય તો એ લોકો શુગર કેન જે ફેક્ટરીને વેચે તો ફેક્ટરીવાળા બી એ લોકો તમને રિસીટ આપે કે રાઇટ વી પેડ યુ 10,000 રૂપીઝ or 100,000 રૂપીઝ. એ પૈસા પછી છે ને બેંકમાં મૂકી દેવાના બીજા પૈસા નહીં મૂકવાના.
એ લોકો બેંકમાં જ આપે ઓલરેડી.
હા તો આપણી જરાક હિસ્ટ્રી પ્રોપર બની જાય ને.
જી બરાબર છે.
સો ઇન્કમ પ્રૂફ.
પછી બીજું એક પૂછવાનું છે મારે આ સમરમાં બોલાવો તો કેટલા ટાઈમમાં એ વિઝા મૂકવી પડે મારે?
હા એ વિઝિટર વિઝાનો ડિસિઝન છે ને બહુ ક્વિકલી એ લોકો આપે વિધિન અબાઉટ 3 weeks એ લોકો તમને ડિસિઝન આપી દે. સો તમે હમણાં મૂકે ફેબ્રુઆરીમાં તો તમને માર્ચમાં ડિસિઝન મળી જાય ને અગર વિઝા મળી જાય તો માર્ચમાં ધ વિઝા સ્ટાર્ટ્સ ઇન માર્ચ ફોર 6 months. સો માર્ચ એપ્રિલ મે જૂન જુલાઈ ઓગસ્ટ. હવે તમને સમરમાં બોલાવે તો યુ કેન ડિલે ઇટ ને તમે એપ્રિલમાં અપ્લાય કરે they get the visa in May પછી you then get May, June, July, August, September, October. That might be a better time.
Jazakallah.
Yes, no problem. Jazakallah.
Okay.
Thank you. So just going back to what we were discussing and in particular immigration applications, spouse applications, we were talking about the spouse who's in the United Kingdom wanting to sponsor their husband or wife to come to the United Kingdom. And I've talked about in previous shows the financial requirement. We go on about the £18,600 requirement. You know, the sponsor here, the spouse here needs to be earning 18,600. We've talked about how you can use different sources of income. So your income might be through employment, it may be through self-employment, it may be through savings, etc., dividends, rental income. There's a whole variety of different types of income that can be shown, that can be used to demonstrate that the spouse here in the UK has an income of 18,600 per annum. And I've talked about in previous shows how the documentary requirements work. So it's not just a question of showing, look, my spouse in the UK is earning X amount of money. That may be well and good, but there are related conditions relating to the documents that need to be submitted, which is equally important. So we talked about that in previous shows. What I want to do today is to look at a connected but slightly different area which you come across increasingly when you're dealing with spouse applications and when the spouse here is sponsoring a husband or wife to come to the UK, which is where somebody wants to meet the requirement using the exemption to the 18,600 rule. Now, in practice, I would say 80% of cases are submitted where the spouse in the UK is earning 18,600 per annum. But there are exemptions to that. And what I want to do is look at one of the main exemptions to that, where as a result of qualifying for the exemption, you don't need to show that the spouse in the UK is earning 18,600 per annum. Now, one of the main exemptions to that is where the husband or wife in the UK, the spouse in the UK, is in receipt of certain benefits. Now, these benefits are specifically laid down in the rules, so it must be one of the listed benefits, and they generally relate to disability, whether it's the spouse who's unwell or whether it's the spouse who's looking after somebody who's unwell. So it's really there to make it easier for those who are disabled to sponsor their husband or wife to come to the United Kingdom, and also those who are caring for somebody who's disabled to make it easier for them as well to sponsor a husband or wife to come to the United Kingdom. That's the main exemption that you see in practice to the 18,600 rule. So as I have said, this applies where the spouse in the UK is in receipt of certain qualifying benefits. Now, the kind of benefits that you come across which result in the exemption from the 18,600 rule, the kind of benefits you come across are typically that the spouse in the UK is receiving disability living allowance or is receiving PIP, personal independence payments, which is the benefit that replaced disability living allowance, or they're looking after somebody who's disabled and the spouse is receiving carer's allowance for looking after the disabled person. So where there is a difficulty in meeting the 18,600 requirement, you really do have to focus on whether the spouse in the UK potentially qualifies for one of these benefits or not. They may themselves be receiving disability living allowance or PIP because they have a disability, or they may be caring for somebody who has a disability and therefore they're receiving carer's allowance. Now, if it's the case that either of these two scenarios applies to them, they're either in receipt of disability benefits themselves or they're receiving carer's allowance, then they are potentially exempt from the 18,600 requirement. So there's no requirement for the applicant who's applying from abroad to show that their spouse is earning 18,600 per annum. They have a different requirement altogether. Let's take our next call before we return to this. And the call might have been dropped. So let's return back to what we were discussing, which is how you're exempt from the 18,600 pound requirement. So in practice, you always look at whether the spouse here is in receipt of these benefits, whether they're looking after somebody who is disabled and getting carer's allowance. Now, the beauty of that, or the big advantage of that, is that it's much easier for them to meet the financial requirement. So what you need to really bear in mind is the financial requirement will still apply. So there is a certain amount of income that the spouse in the UK will need to earn or will need to receive. So it's not a case of no financial requirement applying and simply showing, look, here are my benefits and you know, that's a green card and you know, you get through straight away. It's a green light and you get through. That's not the case. There will still be a financial requirement that needs to be satisfied. But the big advantage is that it is much easier to meet that financial requirement, because that financial requirement in the vast majority of cases will be that the spouse in the UK needs an income of approximately £115 a week. So contrast that with the requirement that the spouse needs to be earning £18,600, which is equivalent to approximately £360 a week. That's the full financial requirement which needs to be met. But if you fall within this exemption, all you're showing in the vast majority of cases, that there are some exceptions to that, is that the income for the husband and wife needs to be £115 a week. Now, there are slightly different rules where the spouse in the UK has to pay rent or mortgage payments, or the spouse in the UK has children. There are slightly different rules which apply when that's the situation. But where it's simply a case of the spouse in the UK on his own or her own, there are no children, there are no accommodation costs. The vast majority of cases you'll find that the spouse in the UK is living with parents rent-free. So there's no child costs, there's no accommodation costs. In that situation, if the spouse is in receipt of disability living allowance or carers allowance, they simply need to show an income of approximately £115 a week, which makes the application much easier. Now let's see how this £115 a week, how this requirement is fulfilled. The other big disadvantage with this particular rule is the £115 a week requirement can be fulfilled by relying on the benefits which have been received as well. For the 18,600 rule, as you might be aware, you can't rely on benefits. But when it comes to somebody who falls within the exemption, where they don't need to show £18,600 per annum, they can use the benefits that they receive as an income as well. So let's take an example. Somebody who receives disability benefits, and they may be receiving £100 a week disability benefits. That's an income, and that can be part of the £115 requirement. That person may be receiving, in addition to the disability benefits, they may be receiving universal credit. Another benefit, they might be receiving £60, £70 from universal credit. So now you're able to add your disability benefits to your universal credits, which is another benefit that you're receiving. Combined, let's say they get £170 a week, which is not unusual. It's £170 a week. Compare that to what I initially said the requirement is. Let me take the next call and I'll return to this after that. Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. I am Huzaifa Ashraf Diwan and I am a student. I am cope up with some problem.
Okay, all right.
Basically, I am studying in the Poetry University.
Okay.
And I want to change my university.
Okay, all right, okay.
So what is the procedure?
Okay, all right. Now, are you in your first year of university, or are you...
I am in my first year.
Okay, all right, okay. The best thing to do, in my experience, is to complete the first year, because you might have paid for the first year already. So what you don't want is for your fees to be wasted. And the other thing that you don't want to do is when you apply to change, what you don't want is for the Home Office to say that you've not really made any progress in the year. So you want to ideally try and complete that first year to show that you've had some progress. The first thing that you would then need to do is find a university that's prepared to sponsor you.
Okay.
In the same way that Coventry University was prepared to sponsor you, you need to find a university that's prepared to sponsor you, ideally for the second year.
Okay. Actually, I'm having a unconditional offer letter, which is offered by De Montfort University as well as. But I have just enrolled in.
Hello. Sorry, Huzaifa, I think you're breaking up. Sorry, can you say again?
Hello.
Sorry, you were saying you've got
Hello.
an under. Sorry, you're back on
I
air.
got
If you just go back a bit, you were
the
saying you have a.
University.
Okay, you have
Hello.
Huzaifa, I can hear you. If you carry on. Hello. Hello. I think we're having problems. Huzaifa, I don't know whether it's the reception your end or something else. If you ring back later on, we're going to be taking a break soon. So if you ring back, probably in the next 3-4 minutes after the break, that's probably a better time. So I can go through what your query is. But thank you for your call. Sorry that we had reception problems. So in the last few minutes that we have, where we'd got to on spouse applications, and in particular the financial requirement, is where somebody's in receipt of disability benefits, they're exempt, and you can add your benefits together to see how much you're earning. And as I said at the outset, if you're receiving an income of at least £115, which is generally what the requirement is if you're in receipt of disability benefits, if the combined benefits that you receive amounts to £115, in the example I was given before, where somebody gets disability benefits, somebody gets universal credit, you add it together and it might come up to 150, 160, 170 pounds. You then meet the financial requirement just simply based on the benefits alone. Now, it may be the case that the spouse in the UK receives disability benefits or carers allowance, but what's happening is the amount of money that they receive isn't sufficiently high. For example, when it comes to disability benefits, they may be on the lower band of the disability benefits. So instead of receiving £100 a week, they may receive only £20, £30 a week. I think 30 is one of the lowest bands for disability benefits. So they may be receiving a very small amount. They may on top of that receive universal credit, but even then they don't manage to get to £115 a week. They still fall short of the £115 requirement. They may have a combined income based on both benefits of, let's say, £90, £95, £100, which you see in practice quite regularly. They are exempt from the 18,600 requirement. They are receiving benefits, but the benefits that they're receiving when combined isn't enough. They don't reach that £115 a week mark. What do you do in that situation? You then have to look at alternative income. And what is that alternative income? Or what is this other way of meeting the requirement? So in this example, let's say from the benefits, somebody's got £100 a week. How do you then plug the hole here? How do you meet the shortfall? Well, it could be from employment that the person is undertaking. It could be from rental income. It could be from savings that they have. And after we come back from our break, that's what I want to look at in a bit more detail, which is that being exempt from the financial requirement, not having to show 18,600 is all well and good. There is still a requirement that needs to be met. You can count your benefits as your income, but your benefits may not be enough in themselves. You may need additional income from elsewhere. So in the scenario that we discussed, the benefits combined may come up to £100 a week. You're still short of a few pounds to get to that £115 mark, which is what they're applying. How do you meet that? So after we come back in the next few minutes, we'll look at that in greater detail.